let's start with the penalties because obviously Spain knocked out on penalties
Russia.
by by, by Russia and close calls against Switzerland in Euro 20
Yeah, and by
2020 as
Italy
well.
as well in the last Euros, of course.
And he said, "Oh, I've told my players to practice 1,000 penalties before the next one." And then he does something so weird. You describe it. I missed this at the time with the penalty takers.
Yeah, and I mean, watching it from where we were in the press box, and we had the camera that you could not see on your broadcast television, but it looked like he picked three players and then disappeared completely, and then let the players pick the other two and the order by themselves. So you could see Busquets writing down the name on a piece of paper before giving. And I was like, okay, this is weird. But I was not too sure. After the game, he said, yeah, I only picked three out of the five. And
I wanted
maybe
to
this
give
is.
responsibility to my players.
But even if that's what you want to do, at least stay with them. You know, be there, be part of the process. I don't understand how he can pick three and then just leaves. And then let Busquets, the captain, and the other deciding, okay, who else wants to go? What order? Who goes first? Who goes last? I don't know. I thought that was really. And then he sat on the bench when everybody was standing up in front of the bench. He sat on the bench to follow the shootout, and I was like, well, this is strange. Doesn't feel like he's part of the whole thing.
It feels like it's the kind of thing, and I hate to say it because, I'm a big Luis Enrique fan. I love him as a person. It feels like the kind of thing that you do if afterwards you want to write a book about coaching philosophy and, oh, look at these weird, unusual, counterintuitive things like I do. Like, telling Busquets, oh, you sort out the rest, right?
I know,
Only gave me
exactly.
the first three
I
and then
don't know.
going off. And
they could have still won it. I don't know. Maybe not. But the fact is they didn't win it. And I don't know if that had an impact or not. I'm just saying that I've never seen that before.
I think also, I know Sarabia and Soler have a good penalty record and so on, but I don't know. I kind of feel like psychologically, again, you start with two of your less heralded players taking the penalties, and you still had Pedri on the pitch, you had Rodri on the pitch, you had Morata on the pitch, right? Who all could have taken penalties at that stage. Ansu Fati as well. And then Busquets comes up. I'm sure Busquets has taken penalties before, but you don't think of Busquets. It almost feels
Definitely
like,
not.
oh, Sergio, you're the captain, you're the inspirational leader, and then you take the third penalty, and then we figure out who goes out. I
know. He might have taken one, but I don't remember. And from the research that we did, and producer Mikey as well, we could not find a record of him taking another pen. So what? You send him in.
To be fair, when you play with Messi and Neymar,
yeah, okay, true. But then it's another reason why are you sending him to take one then?
Because he's the captain. I don't know what kind of weirdo psychology, but sometimes you don't need psychology. Sometimes you have the better players, right? You have people compare it to cooking a meal. You have the better ingredients.
Yeah.
Just go cook something simple with your better ingredients, and it'll be better than whatever couscous the other guy comes up with because he's got crappier ingredients. But you know what? On the day, you manage to screw up the recipe, and the other guy with the lesser ingredients outsmarted you, outcoached you, and outworked you.
Yeah.
And that can't happen, and it can't happen when we saw it happen in the game before against Japan as well.
I know. It's like they were warned, and they didn't take anything from that defeat. And then you know what I think? I think they underestimated this Morocco side massively. I think massively they went into that game.
You think they underestimated Japan too, then?
Yeah. But at least Japan should have been okay. Look, this is what happens. We might be in this situation again. And we play Morocco. Okay, we all knew how Morocco would play. It was a no-brainer. We all knew. We said it on the show, on the FC show. I said this Morocco side is going to cause them a lot of problems. They're going to be so defensive, and I wouldn't be surprised if it goes to pen and then pens anything like all of that. So how can you not more prepared than just pass the ball sideways? Again, Gavi and Pedri on the halfway line. That's not what I want Pedri and Gavi. They can't impact the game whatsoever in there. They need to find space somewhere between the lines on the edge of the box to turn, to play one-touch, quick football. Instead, it was so bad.
The other thing which struck me, one of the changes he did make, which I kind of liked and I would have liked. I'm a big Marcos Llorente fan. And obviously he's played wing back for Real Madrid with some success. I don't know how often he's actually played right back in the back four for the national team. It seemed like an odd change to make when you've got Carvajal and Azpilicueta. And obviously Carvajal wasn't great in the previous game.
Yeah.
Azpilicueta, I think, had a knock as well. But I don't know if this is the guy you want defending one-on-one.
No, but he moved him like almost inside, almost like what Pep Guardiola does with his fullbacks for most of the game. To no impact, because that was also taking Gavi's kind of area. So then Gavi or Pedri had to, again, drop deeper, and we go back to the halfway line where I don't want to see Pedri anyway.
Well, and this brings us back to the point about the stereotype of the Spain team, this pass, death by possession until you see an opening and you shoot. And then they never saw an opening and never shot. And the obvious question is, why can't you be more vertical? And he defended himself before saying, we have to play this way. This is the way. This is the only way we know how to play. And I'm sorry, Lucho, when you say these things, at least come out and say, this is how I want to play because this is my vision of football. Because this is not the only way you can play. Because we've seen Ferran Torres be direct.
Yeah.
Dani Olmo at Leipzig, that's all about directness. It's all about north-south. And if you think those guys can't do it, then on the bench, obviously, you have Morata, obviously. Yeah. But you also have Nico, who we brought on. Who's more direct than Nico? Nobody.
But
and at the end, if they're all stuck there and they're all making a big lump in front of the box and you want the guy with the one-on-one and the magic, why bring on Ansu Fati so late?
But that game was crying for Nico and Ansu. It was crying. Like, after 5 minutes, it looked like, okay, they will need pace and they will need some wingers who will take on defenders and then cross the ball in. So I will tell you what the best starting 11 would have been, 100%. And it's not because we've got hindsight that we can say, but you put Morata in there and you put Ansu Fati and Nico on each side. And then if you want if that doesn't work, bring on Asensio, Dani Olmo, Ferran Torres, whoever you want, your daughter's boyfriend. But it was always going to be like that. And as soon as Nico came on, and Nico is not perfect, he's still a kid, but you could see twice or three times him taking on Mazraoui, who is also a right footer playing at left back, taking him on, good crosses, being threatening on that side. That's all they needed.
And Mazraoui, not exactly the best one-on-one defender.
No, and not fully fit either. So.
I mean, I'm assuming he had some reservations about Nico's technical ability, relative to Ferran.
They needed some pace.
But at some point, you need to mix it up.
Can Lucho stay now?
So
should he stay? Does the Federation want him to stay?
That's the big question. For me, personally, I'd be surprised if Lucho wants to stay, in the sense that he's made his money. He has all his interests outside football. He's a cultured man. He goes and he runs a marathon in the
cycles
desert,
for hours. Yeah.
Does whatever, right? So he may why do I need this if I'm going to get abuse, right? I could see him doing that, and he would live up to the character of Lucho. I think at some point, if I'm the Federation, I tell Lucho, this is your plan of football, but we think it's problematic. It was problematic at the Euros where you played your best game against Italy. You deserved to win, but you lost that game. And in previous games, you nearly got knocked out on so many occasions. But you know him well. At European football and look how other teams play. Why can't we play like that?
I know, but you know him, and you know he's the most stubborn man in football in Spain by a mile. He's not going to change. But he's not going to change.
He's stubborn in the sense that I think he sees himself as standing for something bigger. He's not one of those guys who's stubborn because he's just stupid and he hates being told no. He just believes in this. So if you're going to embrace him, you have to embrace him all the way. And I genuinely don't know if he's the right choice for the Spanish FA at this point.
Well, thank you very much for watching ESPN on YouTube. For more sports highlights and analysis, be sure to download the ESPN app. And for live streaming, premium content, and let's not forget as well, ESPN FC 7 days a week, subscribe to ESPN+.